Guess who it is? The old man. So, the plan for today is to do some videos. One is about live service games. We are taking a look at what live service games and how the industry is doing. And let me tell you already, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Indeed, not looking good. What did I want? Give me a second. I only have 2 monitors. Shit is all over the place. Man. Yeah. So, first things first. Jesus. Oh God. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Today's stream is not going to be a long one, about 3 hours, because, you know, pain. Just pain. Can't sit all day long. Tomorrow I'm gonna edit a bunch of videos. Yeah. So the next stream after this will be on Wednesday. That's at least the plan. That's the plan. You never know if something comes, you know, and kicks you in the balls. Might be, might not be. Give me a second. I have to do something. Okay, that's. I was confused because my chat tool showed me 5 people on YouTube, but I don't stream on that YouTube channel. And yes, on that YouTube channel. On the other one I do. And yes, I have 2 YouTube channels. And yes, I stream to both when I stream games. Not when I'm only yapping. So how about we start with a react? We just do a react. What do we do? Oh yeah, this thing here was such a nothing burger. They literally just, man, we watched 2 videos, right, of SpaceX, and the only thing they are talking about is, oh yeah, internet connection to people that don't have internet connection yet. Great. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, we watched this already. We watched this, it was funny. Wait, didn't I? I'm confused. I think I've seen another video just like that about the same game. Oh, right. Okay. So the guy is tripling down? "45 days. Of course, 45 days. What else would it be? Quapunk? What's Quapunk? I've never heard of Quapunk. The fuck is Quapunk? Why did I never have heard about Quapunk? I mean, this looks like something, I mean, looking at the character looks like something I would play, or at least watch things about. So let's take a look at Core Punk from 1 month ago.
Okay, what up, friendos? Welcome back. And it's another day as an MMO fan. You wake up, what's going to happen today? Is there going to be a new game announced? Is there going to be some good news? No, because I like MMORPGs. So instead, which project's been cancelled? Which MMO's been shut down? Who's been scammed? Which development studios just laid off most of their staff? It's just another day, right? And in this case, we're talking about Core Punk, which I've not covered on any of my channels for a long time for a reason, which is going to play a factor into this.
Wait, for a long time?
Because, one, I don't follow, I have no interest in following long development cycles for games anymore. I'll cover it when it's announced. I'll cover it if anything major happens, including...
Which is good, because, damn. It's so devastating to see a game is being announced and then you follow its development and then it never comes out or turns out to be a scam, which can be, both things can be true. Ashes of Creation.
In any drama, and then I'll cover it when it's playable, and then eventually when it fully releases. So with Core Punk, I was never going to cover all the updates or anything because I have no interest, but I wasn't going to cover the drama either for one specific reason, and that is that this is a Ukrainian development studio. Oh. So obviously, once this game was on my radar and I was like, okay, cool, I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully it turns out well. It looks pretty interesting. It's going to be a niche game, but, I'm part of the niche that this is intended for. I'm waiting.
Niche games can work if you focus your development and make the thing properly and don't spend too much money on a game and expect it to be, I wanted to say Fortnite-like success, but Fortnite lost $500 million. And we're gonna talk about that later.
And then Russia invades Ukraine, and at that point I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to cover any of the negatives or drama or anything around the game because they've already had a rough enough time as it is, trying to relocate and probably secure funding and make sure everyone's okay, and then developing a game while your family's going through a literal war. There's plenty of other games that I can talk about that's having drama where people don't have this going on. So I just gave them a pass. Yes. And I was just like, I'll come back to it when there's something playable. And then here we are today. Now we have to cover it because they've apparently just laid off a lot of staff. And this post, there's information coming from the Discord, from the community manager, that contradicts this a little bit. Of course. We don't exactly know the scenario right now. If you worked here and you've been laid off, feel free to reach out. Would appreciate if you did. Let me know your story. Let me know what happened. Let me know the extent of this so that the public knows. But this post reads, "Hi guys, unfortunately, almost all of my colleagues were laid off, including me. Wow. Looking for a new job, would be grateful for any help. Specialize in making stylized characters and props, from sculpting to textures. Here are some examples of my work. Some of them I created myself from scratch. And some of them I worked as a texture artist, only more works in my portfolio." So this has obviously immediately sparked a discussion. Is Core Punk dead? And yes, according to the Discord server,
the thing is, if something like that happens to a game studio and they are working on a game, the game's dead. Something like that does not happen and then the game is doing well. It just doesn't happen. Never happened before.
Where people started discussing this immediately. The community manager, which I don't know whether or not this is a person who works at the studio and is there and is speaking on behalf of the studio, but it doesn't sound like they are. They said, quote, "It's just more of the same situation as far as I'm aware. Currently at a point where a new round of funding is coming in currently, so it was considered a good point to reevaluate business strategy / structure so as to try and make sure said funding is properly used. As far as I'm told, the last several months of patches and content were done by around 20% of the people in the company, the core team. That doesn't make a great deal of sense. None of the
Wait. I tell me, wait. 20% of the people in the company actually working on the game. What is the rest doing? If I understand this correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we get clarification. I hope so.
This makes a great deal of sense, honestly. But it continues. So instead of spending more of this new round of funding in keeping non-essential people, it is meant to be used to increase production, to outsource more production, and some AI pipelines for day-to-day work. As far as I'm aware, the questions about this were seen in the Q&A and should be getting an answer. In short, / the main point, the core team that has been working on the game from the beginning has always been the core of the project. 90% of them are still here. The other 10% decided to leave due to their own life plans, and this was a good time to exit the project. Now, none of this makes sense, right?
This sounds sketchy AF. This sounds really, really sketchy. What is even going on? Why is the majority of the work done by 20% of the people working at the company? That sounds really, really bad. It sounds like a typical American company where you have 80% of the people working at the company are management. This sounds really bad.
And obviously, in the world currently, you're not allowed to use AI, even though we know either now or in the very near future, a large percentage of studios are going to use some form of AI in their workflow. Maybe it's not going to be generative AI. Maybe it's not going to be the thing you specifically dislike. We just know that this is going to happen. But to talk about using it at this point is a very bad idea. People are going to react incredibly negative to it because
people are retarded. Using some AI to straighten out the workflow to make some of the tedious work easier, faster, being done by AI, instead of a person that then can do something that's more important, that's a good thing. If it even is AI and not machine learning, which is two completely different things, but machine learning is being called AI so they get funding. Keep that in mind. There's a lot of BS going on.
It sounds like when you say we've just laid off a lot of people, and according to this person, most people, and your response is, oh, actually it's okay because we're going to be using more AI. That sounds fucking awful. Because if you're laying off artists to then say, oh, AI, it doesn't inspire anyone with confidence.
It didn't say they're laying off artists. That there's one artist that we know of. The thing is that they laid off most of the people, which, if I read this, is completely fine because only 20% of the people are actually doing work on a game. So why have 80% of the people even there? It's the same situation that we had with Twitter. Where Elon came in, he fired 80% of the people and the company ran fine.
Even if you just mean it's going to be a little bit here and there of something that isn't generative and something that isn't going to replace real people making real things. I am of the opinion, always have been of the opinion on pretty much every aspect where you can go into like the ethics of whatever. If you make something that's good enough, most people will find a way to look past it. If you can make something people feel is great, they're not going to care if you use AI. Sure, some people will, but obviously at the stage where you're at now, where the game's not finished and the news is negative, mentioning this is just a bad idea. That being said, when you read the rest of this communication, which again, I don't think this is from like an official okay, let's put this out as a press release. This is just from a guy. The idea that there can be such a disconnect between, oh, almost all my colleagues were laid off, to, oh, it's actually fine and the core are still developing the game and everything's going to be okay and we're actually getting more money. These two things cannot be true. Also, the idea that when you're talking about layoffs, you can also say people decided to exit the project. They're not the same thing. And
True.
obviously, we know if you're going to lay off a bunch of people that were already built into the workflow of your company, you're doing it for financial reasons, unless you just kept them on this whole time till you got to a point of layoffs and then decided, oh yeah, we'll just lay off a bunch of people now instead of...
No. They said that 20% of the people are the core of the company and they are doing basically the entire work. I think that he's misunderstanding things. Well, I'm misunderstanding things. I mean, both. One of these things is true. We will see.
You know, getting rid of underperformers or something as you discover they were underperformers, which would mean you're not running the business very well. There's not really a lot of ways you can logically spin layoffs other than a financial concern. And when your response is basically, oh, we're getting more money, so we decided to lay off a bunch of people, it does sound like one of those scenarios where the water falling on my face is kind of warm and it might be piss. Why for months of releasing updates was only 20% of your development studio actually part of those updates, according to this? There's just a lot of questions about this that really don't make any sense whatsoever. And again, I've tried to have the ultimate goodwill with not talking about Core Punk because I knew the game wasn't doing incredibly well. I know this game doesn't have a lot of players on it, but there are...
Wait, the game's out? Wait, what? Is it on Steam? Core Punk, max 10 followers, okay. How about the playtest? All-time peak 14 months ago, 1 person. Okay. Let's just continue watching the video, I guess.
Are just a lot of things about this that don't make sense, and eventually once a game is having this many problems, regardless of whether or not they've had a really rough time, which there are people in the MMO subreddit, by the way, saying crazy shit like, oh, the war was, you know, it started 4 years ago, they don't have that excuse anymore. Yeah, they do. Their country is still being invaded. Friends, family is still at constant risk.
Yeah.
Like, they probably lost loved ones. They probably had to vacate homes and be away from family that are then at risk.
The person who said that is so dumb, so stupid. Obviously doesn't know what war is. Very obviously doesn't know. Completely stupid.
I don't think it's reasonable to sit from a place of safety and be like, yeah, actually, no, this is not a factor whatsoever. This is one of the circumstances that you absolutely do give people leeway, where their project that could have been a success previously is way more likely to fail than pretty much anything else going on. That being said, It is always going to be weird to me if they are having financial problems to have never released on Steam. Because there is this handy-dandy feature on Steam called...
So they didn't release on Steam? Oh, okay. I'm confused here.
Early access, where you can launch a game into early access and get money for an unfinished product, which is literally what they already do with the game being, you know, in an alpha state. You know, you can go on their website and you can...
Oh my Jesus. This year might get me demonetized. Not that I'm monetized, but it might be. But overall, this looks like something that I would actually play. Just looking at the art, this looks like something I would play. Because it's very obviously not Western. I mean, the faces and the drawing, you know, the general art style is, but this is very obviously not Western. This is not Western because the women are attractive. The women are attractive, the men are manly. It's not Western. So it's appealing to people. Yes, this looks nice, especially this one here, Jesus.
Buy early access packs and things like that. So clearly they're comfortable selling packs for the unfinished game. But there is a quote from them saying from a long time ago of why they wouldn't release on Steam. And they said this was from 2020. So obviously a lot changes in that time. They said, right now we are focusing on our launcher. It might change, but Steam isn't the best place for MMO releases. Sounds weird, but somehow it is. Haven't seen a successful MMO launch on Steam yet. I mean, despite the fact that obviously Ashes of Creation completely exploded in a fiery ball of mayhem that nobody can look away from because it's so fucking glorious.
Yeah.
The glorious Ashes of Creation community got to witness a glorious fucking explosion, and it's gonna be burning for years till we figure out everything that happened. But despite that, the game still made a good chunk of money. The game still made millions of dollars and had a bunch of players on it. And would have been considered a successful MMO launch. And there's a bunch of successful MMOs on Steam. So I think that's fucking nonsense, personally. The only reason...
Most likely it's just money. It's just money. They just want all the money, not just 70%.
To not launch on Steam is because you don't want to risk the future of your company based on whether you get like really bad negative reviews and people are looking at the Steam chart numbers and they're like, oh,
that is very, very possible. Yes, very, very possible.
I don't want to get into the game because the objective reality of how many people are playing. But obviously, if it does turn out that Core Punk needed the money, you would have thought they'd have at least given that a shot. But obviously, you also run the risk of if you do know you're running out of money and you release on Steam, and then you don't get the desired outcome, and then you run out of money, people are going to call you scammers. The only other thing is if you don't want to give Steam the 30%, but it's like, would you rather give somebody 30% of something, or you keep 100% of nothing, right? It seems pretty common sense to me if your game's in this position. But who knows? You know, maybe there's like some contractual thing or some actual reason they can't release on Steam. Either way, this is sad. And it's sad for a number of reasons. One, because I was always going to be rooting for a studio that had such a difficulty due to the circumstances that are completely outside of their control.
Yeah, sure.
To come through that period and release something successful in spite of what was going on. But also because obviously every time we get really bad news like this, and this isn't to say Core Punk's totally done, but this is not a good sign, no matter how somebody in the community manager role wants to try to spin it. Layoffs are never a good thing. It's never a positive. Like, oh yeah, guys, now we can really develop the game. Now that we fired these people and might outsource to people who haven't worked on the game for years, so they need to be brought up to speed. Cheaper labor people usually, and we'll use AI. These are not good things. Like, there is nothing you can do to spin this as some kind of positive. But also because obviously the MMO genre, every time this happens, is just one less thing, and it's also other people invested in this company with the idea that this thing was going to be a successful product in the future. And this is another group of investors, whoever they are, that are then going to look at the games industry and more specifically the MMO genre and say, nah, actually, fuck that. It was a massive risk. It was massive gambling. It didn't pay off. And look at all these other things that didn't pay off in the MMO genre. And that's just going to continue to feed into the whole situation we've got now, where no motherfucker is putting money into the games industry and certainly not into the MMO genre, which is one that I've loved for a very long time. So that sucks. I really hope that this isn't the end of Core Punk, but you are never going to convince
Do you see this? This looks nice.
Me that doing a big round of layoffs.
I like the art style. I like that. Wait, what? They are doing the exact opposite of Blizzard. You see this here? The exact opposite of Blizzard. And that's why how you know it's not a Western game. Yeah, this is... I like this. This looks good. My guess would be that this is actually a housing thing. I guess. I don't know, but it's a guess.
Where people are comfortable saying the majority of the people, the majority of my colleagues were laid off, is going to result in like a healthier game long term or something that already wasn't doing super well because there's hardly any people playing this game according to the Discord, is suddenly going to get more popular, earn more money, and get to release fast.
Wait. Didn't Asmongold play this game? I think Asmongold played this game.
As a better product based on losing, a bunch
Yes, he
of people
did.
that work in there. That being said, if you did work at this company and you've been laid off, or if you're still working there and you want to have a conversation, give me some insight on what's going on. Of course, you will be kept completely anonymous. Just reach out on any of the social media links below. And for the rest of you, thanks for watching as always. Check GamerSups out. 20% discount is still going on right now using my code. And also, you can support me on Patreon if you want to. Give me some money. You get absolutely nothing in return. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. Peace.
Yeah, this is...
Support me on Patreon if you want to. Give me some...
I mean, this is very... The view is very obviously from... the view angle is from League of Legends, MOBA, which is not bad. But they literally just one-to-one copy that with health and, I guess, shield, which is fine, which is completely fine. Now, what I wanna go is, did Asmongold actually play this game? Did he? Why did I go here? I could have searched it up immediately. He did. 1 year ago. He tried it out 1 year ago.
We have a new game. I don't know what this is going to be like. We're going to try it out. We're going to see what happens.
What did he say at the end?
Casual
Oh my
systems.
god. Did you see the art? That's why when you know the game is actually not bad. Wait. Is this really the game? Wait. I was thinking of a different game. The game that I was thinking of was 3D, and he didn't like it.
To be honest. Then you want to reverse mouse click and options.
My strength knows no bounds.
That's what I think. The clicks are unbindable in some games. Yeah.
So what is he thinking?
I think a game like this has a lot of potential.
Told you?
And if it's not designed the way Lost Ark is. But I'll tell you this. For isometric games like this, Lost Ark's combat should be the... Lost Ark is what Elden Ring is for these games.
Okay.
Like, if a game can be as good as Lost Ark, then it wins. That's what I think. Like, Lost Ark is the best version of it. Any dungeons? I'm not sure yet.
So we are at that point. He thought it had potential, but they obviously have problems. Sucks. But yeah, it's... The thing is, would I play a game like that? I mean, I've said I would because of the art, the very, very specific art. But would I play this? I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I'm basically I already play free live service games regularly. There's not enough time for me for more. There just isn't. I mean, I can try it out, but man, it's really hard. And that's basically where we go for the thing for the main thing today. How is the live service? How are live service games doing? Oh boy, they're not good. So, live service games. I originally intended this game to be only about the live service games of it released since 2024. And as the German I am, I made a list. Now, what changed my plans was Epic Games coming out and saying that, yeah, Fortnite Spotlight is in a minus of $500 million. And we are laying off 1,000 people. 1,000 people. That's what changed it. Now, this is more of an what the hell is going on? And we're gonna look at some things. One of the things will be the list. And here it is. Sorry for the flashbang. But I have no idea how to make this not look like that. So, this is the list. You're gonna scroll down. You can look at the names. You can pause it. And then we look at the numbers. Like you can see, there's a lot of games. I took a look at all the games, no matter where they came out. PC, mobile, consoles. And with consoles, I basically mean PlayStation. And the result of this list is very, very interesting. So, 50 live service games came out. By the way, MMORPGs are also counted in this because they are live service games. So 22 are alive. They're just alive. They're doing fine. 24 are dead. And with that, I mean, they literally just, they came out and they were dead, or they died over time, or got to a point where the player base is so small that even with the server still running, I don't believe that they are alive. And I have no understanding on why the servers are still running. And yet 4 games where I'm not sure. I don't have enough data. So very, very obviously, Highguard, dead on arrival. Completely dead on arrival. We all know that, right? It took 45 days and then they were gone. Which was in my expectations. I thought it was going to die within 1 month. So 4 weeks. It took them 6. But they were basically dead after 2. It was done. So, what is the problem here? I think the problem with live service games is, well, there are a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems. One of the major problems is that investors and owners of development studios like Sony come along and they see, oh my god, live service, we can make a bunch of money. But there's a catch to it. If you have a studio that is so huge, like Epic Games or Bungie, look at Marathon. Does this look like a success to you? No. That's Saturday, 63,000. Last Saturday, 43,000. The peak of last Saturday, aka yesterday, is about 7,000 less. And that's already less than that, which already was less than that. Every week they lose thousands of players. And that's a huge studio. It's a huge studio. Let's just see how huge. We use the Google. How many people work at Bungie? studios. Around 850 people. Down from approximately 13 to 1400 earlier in the year. So they fired people. Do you see the problem? The same happened with Epic Games. Epic Games fired 1,000 people. Epic Games is down $500 million. And for Fortnite. Fortnite is one of the most successful games ever. I mean, every live service game wanted to be the next Fortnite. Literally, every single live service game wanted to be the next Fortnite. And Fortnite lost $500 million. So what does that tell you? I mean, Fortnite was everywhere. Fortnite was and still is huge. I mean, they are losing players. I mean, obviously. That's just what happens over time. And people grow out of, playing the game. I mean, if you started playing Fortnite when you were 13, about 10 years ago, now you're 23, you go out of that. You just do. People that played Fortnite might now play Arc Raiders. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple. So you have to have a static flux of people coming into the game while other people leaving. And then you have to have those new people also pay money for, whatever you sell them. And the thing is, if you have a studio that's this big, you have to have way more people then. And here it comes. Where is it? You might have already known this. Let's go with 3 months. This is sustainable. Why is it sustainable? Well, grinding G games. Grinding G games in Auckland employs approximately 100 to 200 people. Look at the number. Look at the number. Currently, they are around 54,000, which is fine. The leak came out. They were at major update. What number is it? Almost 200k. That's fine. That's fine. Why? Up to 200 people working there, which is way less than 1,300. That's way less. That's literally, we just round things. That's 1,000 people less that work there. And the 1,000 people less, that's literally what the people that got fired from Epic Games. I think that's a major problem here. A lot of the studios that develop live service games, they are just too big to succeed. Because they have to make so much money just to keep it running, just to make the money back and then make a profit. They have to make so much money that it's just not feasible. It's impossible for them to be successful because they are so big. And when they are so big, they have to play it safe. You literally can't have marathon. You can't have marathon. Now, this is completely fine. This happens, new league comes out, it's successful, and then people leave because they're getting bored. They're done with it. and then you maybe have it's up and down. That's the entirety. It's the entirety of the game. The same goes with Path of Exile 2. It's the exact same. We go with 1 month. I mean, the players now are really, really low. 3 months, 6 months. Here, major update. A lot of people played it. Almost 300,000 people. And then it dwindled down. Why? Because people are done with the content. They're bored and they are leaving. 1 year. Do you see this? It's the exact same thing we see in Path of Exile 1. Why? Because it's the same developer. They have the same rhythm of content. This is success. And I absolutely believe that the game will be more successful when it comes out. I mean, it reached almost 600,000 people when it came into early access release on Steam. And that's just Steam numbers. You can double that, or almost double that, for, you know, their own launcher. So this was a success, an absolute success. I wouldn't be surprised if they already recouped the money they've spent developing the game. Why? Yes, 100 or 200 people. That's why. They don't need to make 100 million minimum just to recoup the development costs for the game to be successful. Do you get? Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see where the problem is here? If you own a Bungie and you go to them and say, we want you to make a live service game, you're making a huge mistake. What you should do is go to a small team that you have and tell them to come up with an idea, present the idea for a live service game, and then you go with, okay, this sounds, you know, like it can make money. But the problem is the greed, because, for example, Sony, they want to make all the money. They don't want to make money. They want to make all the money. That's the problem. That's why they are failing. Which is interesting because there was one game here. It was Foam Stars. It came out. When was it? Here, Foam Stars. That thing died within, I think, 3 months. When I remember correctly, 3 months. Since then it's maintenance mode. No new content, nothing. Maintenance mode. It's one of these games. Dead on arrival. And that's the problem. You have, number one, you have to have a game that's appealing to people. Path of Exile 1 and 2 appeal to people. What people? People that play ARPGs. Now, that market is not massive. It's not. The thing is, they know it. And that's why they make their games in a certain way, the updates in a certain way, and they have structured their company in a certain way so they can survive that and make not only survive that, but make a profit and thrive. That's how you do it. You don't do it this way. You don't do it this way. You don't have a company, a AAA company with over 1,000 people, make a game that visually is unappealing to the majority of people on the fucking planet. To have a base mechanic, extraction that is only appealing to a certain minority of people. And then when you have AI enemies, making them the lamest form of AI enemies that they can be. That's why that thing flopped. That's completely it. And I have made a video about it. Marathon lost Bungie $200 million, at least. At least $200 million. I have made a video about that. The link is in the description and the first pinned comment, if you want to watch it. Now, let's go and take a look at this one. What do we see here? We see success. Now, we know that they sold 50 million copies. That's the last number that I know about. And what do we see here? You know, concurrent player numbers. Game came out and people were, oh my god, this is awesome. It gets a little bit boring. New update, Cold Snap. Cold Snap was amazing. And the player numbers showed us. It was amazing. And it was still amazing. People just got bored because they've done everything, even with Cold Snap, and they got bored. Shrouded Sky was not really that great. And people have done everything. And people got bored because there's no new content. The only new map that came out around here, which was Stellar Montes. Here came out the new map, the last new map, about a month after release. Then we had one major thing, the Cold Snap, which massively changed how you play the game if you go and play the Cold Snap weather condition, which I did, I think, 90 to 95% of the time while it was going. And after it got stale. It got stale. I think, yeah, here was the thing where they released the flying flamethrower arc, the Firefly, and the big explodey ball. Plus the weather condition of the hurricane. I think that was here? No. Should have been around... No, it was here. I think it was here. That was not that great. So people were still, yeah, 2 new arc, and yeah, that's not a... Yeah, I mean, you can see that there's a little bit of an up, but it's still not that big. And then, yeah, people got really, really bored. They got really, really bored. And then something happened. What happened? Do you see this? There's a new trend. A new trend is beginning. What's that new trend? The new update. The new update is actually really, really big. You got one new condition where there is that's the only time where you can encounter the new arc, the vaporizer. And then there's a new arc structure thingy that you also only can encounter there, which you can loot, and that thing can actually give you blueprints and stuff like that. But in that condition, you don't have any normal loot per se. This is all about fighting arc, which is very, very interesting. It's actually fun. I did that for 2 streams and it was really good. It was really, really good. I love the new arc. Also, it introduced the Shredder enemy that was introduced on the last new map to all maps. And that thing is scary as fuck. And I have to censor that later. So this one is actually really interesting because, like you can see, it's going up. The Cocoon player numbers are going slowly up a little bit. Now we will see in 2 weeks how this is actually working out. I hope well. Also, this is just this is a story patch because we also got new, quests and stuff like that. So what does this patch tie into? The new map that's coming out at the end of April. Where we also will get a new arc, a big one, and a new weather condition. So you got a good patch that's leading up to even an even better patch. Now, does this look like success? Yes, it does. Why? They have sold 50 million copies. 50 million copies. Which means 50 million players can jump back on when there's new content that is being released for free. And the entire curve will jump up. And at the same time, they are releasing skins on their in-game shop that some look really good, some, are not my style. And yes, I avoided to saying they don't look good. But that's the difference between Arc Raiders and Marathon. This game has a mass appeal. Why? Because in the core, it's a PvE game. The PvP part is just tacked on to make the game overall more spicy. Now, the game being an abstraction shooter, just like Marathon, that thing is also only on top. It's on top. It's not the main focus. And it's made way more interesting than Marathon. In Marathon, you just stand at the point, you activate a thingy, and then you get beamed away after a while. That's the entire thing. Here you have the exit is different depending on which map you are on. You have an elevator, you have a train. Wait, is that already it? Elevator, train, one is a ventilator, a huge ventilator, a thingy where you get through. You have radar hatches where you need a key to extract from. And maybe when we have the next map, which is a harbor, a coast thingy, maybe there is a boat. Maybe, I don't know. But that's the difference. People saw this game and they went, oh my god, this looks cool. And this thing also had no drama around it. Unlike Marathon, which had literally stolen art. The entire art style is stolen from an artist. Well, yes, that backfired. So, what I'm babbling about here the entire time for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30? What's going on with live service games? Well, the thing is that if you have a giant studio, you need to make something that makes so tremendously amounts of money that it's not even feasible to make it in the first place. While you have other games, other developer studios that are way smaller, that can be way more focused on something that's niche, where you have intrigue, where people actually look at it and go, oh yeah, this is interesting, I want to play it. For example, we all know that the most successful live service games are gacha games, right? We all know that. Even 15 million sold copies of Arc Raiders don't come close to Uma Musume, right? We know that the horse racing game is more successful than this one, right? We all can agree on that, right? If you have waifus, you have money. That's just how it is. Which also is a problem what I have with Arc Raiders, that, the chicks are not actually attractive. They look okay. They are fives at best. But the same goes for the Mandate, and they are quite unattractive. That's my one pet peeve I have with this fucking game. That the characters are so unattractive. In general. But yeah, so what I'm saying is, if you want to make a successful live service game, you can't have a giant studio making it. It has to be small. It has to be focused on something where the developer knows what they are doing. And, you know, not like this. Not like this. Remember, Destiny 2 died for this. And yes, Destiny 2 is fundamentally dead. That's where we are. Live service games are only successful if they either have a tremendous amount of players playing it, if the studio is kind of big, or it's a small studio that makes a product for a niche that it knows and caters to. Like Path of Exile 1 and 2. I mean, sure, you can argue that the gacha games also, you know, have developed games for a niche, but that niche is way, way bigger because it's people that like hot chicks, which is everyone but hateful women, which is sadly a lot of them. I hope that makes sense. If you, number one, let me know what you think in the comments. And then, if you like this video, consider subscribing, because it's on YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe, like, and see you next time. Bye-bye. And now I have to hope I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Would be funny if I didn't. That would be funny. Oh my god. If I didn't talk about everything I wanted to. Well, I can add something, right? I can add something in post-production tomorrow when I edit this video. Oh boy. But yeah, again, 50 games came out since 2024. And about half of them are dead. Or I don't know what happened to them. Not good. Not good. Indeed not good. So, how about the... Yeah, how about... that's way too low and way too late. Way too late. How about from 1 year ago? Cryptids of Germany. How about we do that? I wanted to watch that anyways. And maybe they are even talking about me, you know, the Waldschrat. Let's see. Legendary creatures of Germany. Here we go.
Germany is a haunted land. This country is famous for its unique ancient folklore, which features stories of some of the most mysterious, most unusual, and, in some cases, most disturbing entities of which the world has ever heard tell. Thankfully, as strange or disquieting as these legends may be, they're all matters of fiction. Or are they?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Fire of Learning. This is the Campfire series. In this video,
Perfect name. Perfect name for me. This is great. We are off to a good start.
we will be telling some of these tales, examining some of the most frightening and mysterious subjects of German folklore, from spirits and the undead to creatures that could be called cryptids, to entities that are so bizarre that they are difficult to classify, and considering if there could indeed be truth to these stories. Before we begin, we would like to thank Haile Selassie, Blake Stanley, Bouncer, Kate Wellman-Nichols, and Joe Shaw for being our most recent supporters on Patreon. They join these supporters listed here who help to make videos like this possible. Now then, let's get to it.
Great. Good one. Good people.
The Vampire.
Of
While
course.
the modern conception of the creature has been heavily influenced by the inventions of Victorian authors, the origin of the vampire lies in the much older traditions of Eastern Europe. Vampires themselves, however, belong to a much broader family of malicious, parasitic, undead entities described across the continent, which are said to arise under a variety of circumstances in which an individual is barred from passing on into the afterlife. In Germany, as well as other parts of Central Europe, we find a particularly haunting example of this, with a creature that could be said to be a relative of the vampire.
Don't tell me it's the Waldschrat. Hello, Emily. We are currently watching a video. Legendary Creatures of Germany. And I might be on it.
Or perhaps even a type of vampire, known as a Nachzehrer.
Nachzehrer. The Shroud Eater. No. The Nach doesn't come from Nacht, which means night. The Nach comes from after. After he went to the toilet, he was. I don't know. But that's Nach. Zera is or Zera is more complicated. It's a word that's basically not being used anymore. It was there's also the word verzehren. Some explaining that. For example, er verzehrt sich nach ihr. He is, oh my god, how to properly, I have no idea how to translate that properly. Basically that he really strongly wants her. Wants to be with her. That's roughly there. It's hard to translate. It's really hard to translate. There's no one word where I could say that it means this. It's really hard.
The Nachzehrer is sometimes known in English as a shroud eater, but the word is more literally translated as something like after drainer.
It's really hard to translate. That was your joke?
It is so named because once a Nachzehrer is born through death, it will seek to feed upon the vital essence or life force of the family and friends it knew in life. Legends differ on how exactly one becomes afflicted with this curse, but often it is held that the Nachzehrer is born out of tragedy. Some say that those who die by accident are at risk of becoming a Nachzehrer. Other legends hold that they rise alongside plague, and that the first victim of a given plague receives the curse. Some say that simple things, such as giving the dead a material possession with which to be buried, or leaving the name of the deceased individual written upon their burial clothing, invites the curse. But most often, it is believed that those whose lives are ended of their own volition are subjected to the curse. Regardless, the transformation occurs when the victim is laid to rest in their grave. It is said that when the Shroud Eater awakens, as this name suggests, it begins to slowly consume its own burial shroud and its own flesh. Traditions again vary at this point, but it seems that it is typically held that as it does so, it drains the life force of its own family and friends.
Which basically can just be that people are grieving so badly that it looks like they are dying. It's literally just that. The Vault Beast is coming in the video. Great.
Unlike the vampire, the Noxera does not need to rise from the grave to do this. Rather, it is able to remain within the grave and feed off of its victims remotely.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. People are just grieving to a point where it looks like they're just dying.
Some stories do hold that it can and does leave, however, and when it does so, it may take the form of a walking corpse or of a pig. While these legends claim that a Noxera will rise to attack their loved ones and create havoc, they do not necessarily do so for the purpose of feeding, as it is again not necessary. The Noxera is sometimes said to visit the local church and ring its bells before claiming its next victim, and that whoever hears these bells is—
How dare you? Saying the pig is me? How dare you?
Is certain to be next. If the Noxera is not stopped, it will eventually kill its victim. Thankfully, the creature can be stopped. To determine if a Shroud Eater is active in the area, the grave of the suspected deceased must be opened and investigated. The Noxera is said to make noise from within the grave from time to time, and therefore, listening quietly for rumbling and chewing noises may reveal its location.
Chewing?
In conditions of high stress, however, people were not always so patient. There are historical accounts of cases in which terrified German villagers would unearth grave after grave to examine each corpse for visible signs of unnatural activity.
Sure.
Once unearthed, it is said that a Noxera will be found resting with its left eye open and one of its thumbs held in its other hand. Furthermore, its burial shroud and body will appear to have not merely been decomposed, but gnawed away at. At this point, a rock or spike may be driven into the mouth of the corpse to prevent it from further consumption, though it is safest for the corpse to be beheaded if not cremated.
Jesus.
If the corpse squeals during the beheading, or if it appears that its blood was still flowing, it is regarded as proof that it was a Noxera. While the behavior—
Oh boy. All the people that were found to be dead but actually weren't, and then were put in the ground, yeah. Not a good time for those people.
The behavior of the Noxera is generally believed to be driven by evil forces. Some tales suggest that the fact that it targets its own family and friends is motivated perhaps by a corrupted desire to be close to them once more. The first written records discussing what would come to be known as Noxeras date to the 17th and 18th centuries, not by coincidence roughly the same time period in which clear written records to vampires begin to become popular. Although the mythology surrounding this creature doubtlessly predates this period, and the term Noxera itself did not arise until after this period, in the 19th century specifically. Prior to this, the creatures were called various things, such as the Schmetzende Toda, the Chomping Dead. Historically—
I wish he wrote down the German names. I wish. But sadly he didn't. I wish because then I would be able to tell if I know about them or not.
in Germany, undead entities in general were often referred to by the term Wiedergänger, or one who walks again, a term we shall see again in this presentation. The Noxera is one form a Wiedergänger may take. As is discussed in Thomas Bone's book, Vampire, the origins of a European myth. It was believed in parts of Germany that women were more susceptible to the curse than men. This was not exclusive, however. In the Chronicle of Breslau, the deacon Nikolaus Pohl wrote of an incident in the 17th century in which plague had killed thousands in the local area.
By the way, Breslau is now one of the bigger cities in Poland. Once German, now Polish. Actually, part of my family comes from that area. But that's a while ago. Well, not that long ago, not even 100 years.
Not long after, there were reports that chomping noises were coming from the grave of a recently deceased shepherd in the village of Grossmokban. The shepherd was unearthed, and his remains were investigated. According to the Chronicle, his corpse was found with his burial shroud stained with blood and held tightly in its mouth, as though his jaws were clenching it. The shroud was removed, and the corpse was beheaded and placed in front of the churchyard. Following this, the deaths in the village reportedly stopped. As with vampires, Christian authorities, both Catholic and Protestant, and the ruling elite abhorred the desecration of graves and often outlawed such activities. However, it seems that in periods of great stress or fear, the peasantry in particular would ignore these laws and perform these rituals out of desperation.
I'm not
The
surprised.
governing elite would often look the other way. It should be noted that
Yeah, because when they acknowledge
while we have presented Noxer
that this is happening and they go, yeah, no, you can't do that, that will cause an uproar, which is then, you know, they endangering their power. So they don't want that. It's all about power.
is at their most distinct, and perhaps most German. The mythology is somewhat complicated and varied from region to region, sometimes mixing with the mythology of other entities, such as poltergeists, the German name for a loud and destructive ghost. In areas where there was crossover between German and Slavic culture, there was likewise crossover between Noxerer and vampire mythology. Historians find reports of Noxerers who rose from the grave and persisted by drinking blood, and vampires who chewed on their burial shrouds. Telepathic
Makes sense. Germans and Poles literally lived in the same country. Literally. I mean, that's where half my family comes from. Half my family comes from Silesia, which is now part of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia, when I remember correctly. So yeah, of course that's going to happen. Of course, that's normal.
inflicting harm on those around them. It is difficult to draw a line denoting where the vampire ends and the Noxerer begins, if they are even to be considered separate creatures in the first place. Ultimately, regardless of how they are classified, the reality is that average people once lived in fear of them and resorted to extreme measures to expel them from the earth. Were they right to be afraid?
Next one. You know what's funny? This is very obviously not a natural forest. How do I know? Because the trees are all planted in a line. That's how you know it's not a natural forest. Come on. Spooky. By the way, that's also a day for night shot. It just made it look like night. But it's very obvious that that's, you know, the sun. That was used in movies back in the day a lot.
We take for granted how safe travel is today.
Oh my god, this is beautiful. By the way, German forest, or generally Middle European. I love Middle European forest so much. It's so amazing. Such a big brain. Oh, shut up.
Historically, longer journeys through more sparsely populated regions were often rife with dangers. Many of these were quite natural, such as bandits and wild animals.
The thing is, back in the day, even Europe was sparsely populated. Even Europe. The only reason Europe is so densely populated is generally is because the continent is so tiny. There's just not enough land. So it has to be densely populated. There's no other way around.
So, if legends are to be believed...
For example, to put that in perspective, Texas is 3 times the size of Germany. And to put that into more perspective, you can put Germany, France, and Spain into Texas. And Texas has only 29 million people in it. Only 29 million. Germany alone has 82 million people. So with France and Spain, almost 200 million people. So that's, relation. What do I think about this forest? I love forests. Forests are awesome. I love them.
Traveler may have been lucky if these were all they encountered. Stories of far darker forces lurking throughout the German forests and countryside
Now we are coming to the Waldschrat.
Have been told since before recorded history, with some prepared to vouch that, even in the modern day, we are not truly free from such things. An example of such a thing is a malicious entity known as an Aufhocker.
Aufhocker? Okay. Can I see the link? Nope. I can't. Aufhocker. This can have several meanings. Auf means on or up, and hocker is hocken is crouching. So this is, yeah. The back rider is not. It depends on the. You would have to translate Aufhocker depending on, oh god, words. On oh my god, I went completely, my brain is completely empty. Context, there, context. It's all about the context. You said me, but it's probably blocked. Yeah, I think links are blocked. I think I blocked links because I get spam a lot.
There is not consensus throughout Germany or the other regions to which this legend extends on what exactly an Aufhocker is or how it appears. Most, however, hold that this is because it is a shapeshifter, able to assume many different forms, and that its true form is a kind of amorphous spirit. In Western Germany, the Aufhocker takes the form of a werewolf or a black dog. In the Northeast, it is a kind of ghost. Elsewhere, it may take the form of something like a goblin, a woman, a corpse, or a variety of other animals.
I have never heard of this before, ever. Ever. This is completely new to me. And guess what? Only 10 minutes in. Jesus.
Regardless of the form it takes, the threat it poses to travelers is, for the most part, the same throughout the mythology. The word Aufhaker could be translated as something like the one who leaps upon, or more indirectly, backrider. The spirit is said to wait along roads and pathways at night for lone travelers, often near specific points along the road, such as bridges, springs, and cemeteries. As its name suggests,
Yeah, back in the day, you would never want to travel at night. Way too dangerous. Because you can't see anything. Funny thing, modern people that live in cities, and even in villages, they don't even know what a night actually is, what it actually means. Complete darkness. They don't know that. Because they have never encountered that. If night is for you, you go out of the house and there's street lamps, that's not night. That's not night. The night in the city is basically daylight. An actual night, you can't see anything. At all. I know it because I was hiking a trail and it got dark. I literally couldn't see anything. I couldn't see my own hand in front of my eyes. I couldn't see anything. And that was, I think, at the night where we actually have at least half moon. But I couldn't see anything. And I actually got lost. Where you are, if it's night, the moon will shine. Well, the moon is not shining all the time. Trash country, Jesus. But yeah, so I got lost, and you wouldn't think that you can get lost in an area where number one, you know of your way around, and number two, it's tiny. It's a tiny area. But I got lost. That was really... You don't know how confusing the night can be if you have not encountered actual night. It's really, really scary.
when a traveler passes by, the back-riding spirit will emerge and leap onto their victim's back, attaching itself firmly to its victim. Generally, it is said that, once attached, the entity cannot be killed or removed through normal means. Stories differ on what happens after this.
If you turn on a flashlight, it makes it worse. It depends. It depends. I thankfully had the flashlight with me. That I don't remember which one it was. The newer one that is actually good, or the older one that had problems. Might have been the older one that had problems. But yes, even with the flashlight, I had problems to know where I was and where to go. Part of that was because I got confused by two train bridges. Your eyes get used to the artificial light, so you can't see that. That too, yes, that too.
In some legends, the Aufhaker then immediately kills its victim. However, much more commonly, the spirit is said to merely stay attached to its victim, becoming heavier and heavier as the victim moves, until, eventually, it kills them through exhaustion. However, in these latter cases, the victim has a chance of survival. Legends provide a variety of different methods that those encumbered by the spirit may use to free themselves. If the traveler is able to make it into their homes or a church, if they survive until dawn, or if they are within earshot of ringing church bells, the spirit will unlatch and leave its victim. In some cases, it is held that the Aufhaker is actually a spirit of the dead, a kind of Wiedergänger, and that when it latches onto its victim, they must carry it to the grave or churchyard in which the body...
So, basically, the Aufhaker is fatigue. Because, you know, the longer you go, the longer you walk, especially at night, you become exhausted and all of that. Your feet, your legs get heavy. don't want to walk anymore. You just, yeah, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm done. But then you hear the church bells and you know you're close to safety. And all of a sudden, yep, okay, I can make it. Yeah, that's easy. It's literally just fatigue. It's literally just fatigue. Or if you see a light in the distance, oh my God, safety. And now you have a new stream of energy that makes you, go. It's that simple. Give me a second. I have to ban people. Stupid kick full of bots. Give me a second. Can't I just ban that? Jesus, I think I have to. Man, I maybe I should stop streaming on Kick. Kick is shit. Hey Wolf, yeah, because I was busy, and so am I right now.
The body of the spirit was buried. Inversely, according to Carol Rose's book Giants, Monsters, and Dragons, the Aufwacher may take the form of a horse, which encourages travelers to mount it. Once mounted, the traveler will become stuck on the horse, and the spirit will take them upon a violent ride, and then eject them into a body of water. While all, especially lone travelers, have cause to fear the Aufwacher, it is said that it shows preference for those who have done evil, namely criminals. As is discussed in a 2007 paper by Willem de Blacour, the association between Aufwachers and werewolves is strong in areas like the Rhineland. Indeed, in this region's folklore, the Aufwacher is often simply a werewolf. Such legends hold that these Aufwachers transform voluntarily by putting on a magic belt, and that if they were caused to bleed, their human form would be revealed. Other sources identify the Aufwacher with...
Never heard of that before, ever. But the thing with becoming voluntarily a werewolf, that's actually an old thing from Germanic shamans back in the day. They could become wolves, bears, eagles, all kinds of animals. Really interesting. But that was way before Christianity.
Vampires, though while there may be legends that allude to this, especially in German, we did not find any examples of the entity draining the life force of its victim. Rather, the emphasis is on the entity slowly exhausting and crushing its victim over time. You may have noticed certain traits that the Aufwacher shares with other creatures we have discussed in the Campfire series, such as the Kelpies of Scotland and the Black Dogs of England. Indeed, these legends are related and belong to a much larger mythology that spans not merely the Germanic world, but much of the continent. We hope that you are enjoying the video so far. If so, we would like to encourage you to consider subscribing to support the channel and keep up with more content like this in the future. Now back to the video. Throughout Germany and Austria, there is a tale of a particularly frightening creature that has kept those familiar with it indoors at night for centuries. It is believed to emerge after the sun sets to hunt for its prey from above. Its horrible cry is said to be an omen of certain misfortune to all who hear it, and for its victims, the first sign that it is already too late. It is known as the Nachtkrab, or in English, the Night Raven.
Never heard of that before. Never. Oh. Happy Easter, Emily. Nice. Family is nice. Getting caught or not. Jesus. Yeah, happy Easter to you too. Goodbye, Emily.
The German night raven is typically described as a malevolent, giant, perhaps man-sized raven. Some legends maintain that the entity does not have eyes, and that if one looks into its empty eye sockets, it causes death. Other legends hold that it has holes in its wings, and that those who look at them are cursed to suffer illness. Regardless, avoiding these features will not necessarily save you. The Night Raven is a vicious hunter which targets human beings. For generations, German parents have used the story of the Nachtkrop to deter their children from sneaking out and wandering at night. Though, truth be told, the mythology cautions that remaining indoors is not a guarantee of protection. In some stories, the Night Raven displays a kind of intelligence, and will enter homes to abduct its prey, should it find it necessary to do so.
Which makes sense because crows are very, very intelligent. You can't underestimate their intelligence. Spooky.
The Night Raven is not unique to Germany. Variations of this legend can be found throughout much of Europe. Sometimes the entity is depicted as a normal-sized but ominous bird, which simply heralds misfortune. However, the Nachtkrop itself remains well known in German folklore. There is not clarity or agreement in Germany about what exactly the Night Raven is or from where it comes. However, its origins are clearly unnatural. Some suggest it is a kind of Wiedergänger. It is said that if a person who committed a grave sin in life and failed to repent is buried where 3 boundaries meet, they will undergo a horrible transformation within their grave and rise again as a Night Raven.
Man, why does this video make me want to play or even make an ARPG set in Europe with these legends? Imagine fighting these things in an ARPG. Man, so cool.
The 3 boundaries are relevant in that historically, sinful people would often be buried away from consecrated grounds, specifically near crossroads, perhaps to confuse the dead should they return in one form or another.
Makes
In
sense.
some nearby cultures, it is held that if a gravestone is uprooted, a spirit will be released, which will take the form of a Night Raven. Regardless of what the Night Raven is and where it comes from, the Germans warn us that it is not to be disregarded, and that should one venture outside at night, to turn an eye to check the sky occasionally. Throughout this presentation, we have seen and will continue to see that many of the most unusual entities of German folklore began as regular people who were, for one reason or another, denied the rest which comes with death, and whose souls were therefore forced to remain on the earth in an unnatural form. Such is the case as well for our next subject, an entity known as the Feuermann. A Feuermann.
Again, something I have never heard anything about before. Man, I really missed out. I really missed out. Maybe that's because I grew up in a city. Well, big town. Not city, big town.
Feuermann, meaning a fireman or perhaps flame spirit, is a kind of ghost.
No, Feuermann literally means fireman. Literally, fireman.
Condemned to remain in the world of the living, unable to pass on into the afterlife because of a sin or curse with which the soul is burdened. There are many other names for the entity across Germany, such as the Glühender Mann, the Glowing Man.
Glühender Mann? Yes, a glowing man, yes.
Or the Brünling, the Burning One.
The what?
With which the soul is burdened. There are many other names for the entity across Germany, such as the Glühender Mann, the Glowing Man, or the Brünling, the Burning.
Oh, wait, what? I think he misspoke the German name, and I can't make out what it was.
One. Each of these names is a reference to its defining characteristic. A flame spirit is described as a fiery, usually humanoid entity. According to the 1933 Handwörterbuch des Deutschen Aberglaubens, the most common depiction seems to be of a skeleton with a fire burning from within it, like a, quote, fire from within a wicker basket.
I think I need that book.
end quote. Though this is only one of many depictions. Other examples include a dark figure surrounded by a column of fire, an entity which is invisible apart from its fiery eyes, a fiery rider on a flaming horse, and even merely a regular-looking man carrying a burning object, such as a lantern. The fire of a flame spirit is typically normal in its appearance, but is sometimes said to be blue. The flame spirit will sometimes be headless, and will carry its head in its arms. Its size seems to vary, and indeed, legends hold that it can change its size, becoming significantly smaller and larger than the average person. A flame spirit will not necessarily take a humanoid form, however. It may appear as a kind of amorphous floating light, or even a blazing animal or object. Though its appearance...
The flowing light can it be a firefly, just a firefly? Because there are lights that flying, right?
appearance varies considerably. Its origins and behavior are somewhat more consistent. As mentioned, a flame spirit arises when a soul is barred from resting because of its actions in life. Murderers, traitors, thieves, and other criminals are all at risk of being condemned to this existence, but there are specific misdeeds which are said to increase the chances of the curse. For example, if one illegally moves a stone marking a boundary or border, the culprit will rise again as a flame spirit after death, and be doomed to haunt the border that they attempted to change. Apart from borders, flame spirits are said to manifest in fields and swamps. There is a legend of a flame spirit who haunts Lake Constance, who is said to appear before fishermen walking on top of the water. They are almost always seen at night, and are most especially apparent on certain holidays and times of year, such as Christmas, Easter, and Pentecost.
Makes sense, yes. Makes absolute sense that they would come out then. Yeah.
And the associated periods of Advent and Lent. In spite of its dramatic appearance and nefarious origins, flame spirits are generally believed to be relatively harmless. Rather, they are mysterious, melancholic, aimless souls awaiting the end of their purgatory. Still, most who encounter these strange, luminous figures wandering through the darkness keep their distance and view them from afar. However, there are many tales of interactions with flame spirits. Because the Foyaman is not a vengeful ghost, but a repentant one, many encounters are actually said to be positive or beneficial. For example, if a flame spirit is encountered and called out to, it will show a traveler the way to its destination in exchange for coin or a word of blessing, which is said to reduce the time it must spend atoning. Flame spirits are said to be more likely to assist a woman than a man. Legends...
Who could have guessed? Isn't that always the case? This is great. Of course, even in death, you'd rather have woman than man. Yeah, sure.
says that if a flame spirit agrees to lead a traveler, it is important that they avoid touching it, as it is painful to do so, and avoid speaking to it, and that the traveler should enter the next building that they enter, backwards. Should the traveler fail to reward the flame spirit for its assistance, or if the ghost is otherwise disrespected, it may take revenge. It may lead the traveler in the wrong direction, become an Aufhaker and latch onto their back, or even set the traveler's possessions or home ablaze. The description presented here makes it clear that the Foyaman is connected to the much larger will-o'-the-wisp mythology seen across Europe. However, sometimes, an entity known as the Irrlicht is considered to be the closer German folklore equivalent of the...
Oh yeah, Irrlicht? Yeah, that's a thing even I have heard of. Yes, an Irrlicht is something that literally just shows you the wrong way.
With the wisp. According to Ernst Ludwig Rochholz in his book Naturmythen, Nature Myths, Irrlichts, meaning wandering lights, are often said to be the fiery spirits of the unbaptized. They wander the earth until the priest delivers the baptismal formula over their grave while it is raining. However, these two closely related terms are at times used interchangeably. Morbach, a municipality in the countryside of western Germany, home to forests, hills, medieval ruins, and several small, quiet villages.
Looks great.
It is an area that would quite naturally put one at ease.
Oh, look at this. Oh my god, this house. Oh my god, looks lovely. I mean, you might not think so, but this is great. Looks way better than everything modern. And this thing will last forever. Because it's built like that. These are literally just massive stones. If you take care of this thing, it will last. And it already did. That thing is hundreds of years old. I would say at least 300, but how it looks. Same should go with that one. It does look a little bit more... It does look younger. It does. The store looks like it's... This looks like... It's where people actually live in, and this is more like storage.
Though the tranquility of this region is betrayed by whispers of a great darkness that calls it home, one which the locals have allegedly tried to keep at bay for centuries. At this, they do seem to have been successful, or at least they were. Our story begins in the year 1812. This was the age of Napoleon, and this area was right in the middle of the conflict and instability that had engulfed Europe during his reign. At this time, Napoleon had just been defeated in Russia, and was retreating to France with his army in shambles and the future of the continent uncertain. Legends tell that among Napoleon's retreating army was a German soldier named Thomas Johannes Baptist Schweitzer. As the retreating army passed through Germany, Schweitzer deserted it and joined up with some Russian soldiers who had deserted their army. They formed a gang, intent to pillage the local area while the region suffered in these unstable times. The bandits set off and soon reached the village of Moorbach. There, they broke into the home of a farmer and attempted to rob it. When the farmer caught them, they slew him and his family. Before Schweitzer reached the farmer's wife, however, she used her last words to place the curse of lycanthropy onto him, claiming that he would become a wolf every full moon as punishment for these.
So a werewolf. Great. Yes. Okay. Interesting. Now, what's the legend?
Heinous crimes. Schweitzer and his gang brushed off the woman's final utterance, finished their ungodly work, and left. As the days passed, however, the rest of the gang noticed a change gradually come over Schweitzer. He became progressively more savage and violent, to a point that even his fellow bandits could not tolerate. Soon they would abandon him. Schweitzer continued his criminal lifestyle on his own, though it seems at some point he disappeared into the winter, and his curse finally overcame him. Reports of banditry in the area were soon overshadowed by chilling rumors of the presence of a monster active throughout the land, a werewolf. For years, the locals of the area would fear the full moon and the chaos its rise heralded. Indeed, livestock and people would go missing and be found dead on such nights, unmistakably the victims of the creature that prowled the countryside. Eventually,
the animals just, other animals, wolves, the people just murdered. I mean, literally just that.
Night, a local farmer's daughter suffered a horrible encounter with the beast. When she told her family of it, the locals of the area came together and vowed to destroy it.
But what happened to her? I mean, I have a guess. I can't say because she would not like that, but I have a guess.
Tracked the werewolf, which led them to Schweitzer and his camp in the woods. Schweitzer, in his human form, fled and ran for miles, but the mob pursued him and caught up to him in the town of Wittlich, where he was killed. He was buried not far from the village, near what is today the village of Vennegorat. However,
why would you not burn him? I would burn him. Burn him to shreds.
The villagers feared that Schweitzer's death did not expunge the curse, and that the wolf might still rise again on the next full moon regardless. Thus, they constructed a shrine dedicated to the Virgin Mary over the grave, and placed either one or multiple candles around it. It was said that if the candles were not lit on the night of a full moon, the wolf would emerge from the grave and return to haunt the land. According to the legend, this holy power kept the creature within its grave for many years. Time passed, and people lived and died without ever encountering the creature.
Sure.
But though it gradually faded into myth, each generation dutifully remembered to light the candles before every full moon, just as their elders had instructed. About 140 years after these events, the Second World
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. New dead people.
War came to an end. Following this, the American military established a presence in Germany which has persisted to this day. Members of the American Armed Forces were stationed at various
You might say an occupational army.
places across the country, such as Hahn Air Base, which was constructed in 1951 to serve as a base for the American Air Force, not far from the aforementioned villages. It is claimed that it was at this base another 30 years later, in 1988, that the legend came to life.
Of course.
One evening in that year, it is said that 3 off-duty American military personnel were exploring the area and came across a shrine dedicated to the Virgin Mary, with a candle by it that they either found unlit or put out themselves. Unaware of the legend, or at least its gravity, they thought nothing of it and moved on. However,
I mean, sure, if the candle was not lit, why would they think anything about it? And if it was lit, why would they turn it off? I mean, you know, you see, there's a lot of uncertainty here. What happened?
according to an article published by the Fortean Times, later that night, one of the base's fence line security sensors was triggered. Base security was sent out to investigate. While approaching the site, one of the officers noticed a figure moving in the darkness. Believing it to be an intruder, he shined his flashlight on it. The crew were surprised to find that the figure was instead some sort of large animal, though they could not discern what kind. But then, the creature turned to face them, and to their utter shock, revealed itself to be a great, monstrous wolf. The beast stared the men in the eyes, snarled, and then rose to stand on its hind legs. It then jumped over the nearby fence with a single leap and ran off into the night.
Wait, what? If that is an actual report, then yeah. Maybe it's true. Maybe that actually happened. I don't know.
The officers quickly alerted the rest of the base of an intruder. Tracking dogs were brought to the scene as the men intended to pursue the figure. However, the dogs began to panic and refuse the orders of their masters, disrupting the effort. Nothing more was found that night. However, it seems that this was only one story of many that would emerge on the base in the 1980s and 90s of a wolfman lurking throughout the area at night, occasionally in and around the base itself. It is said that strange sounds would be heard at night outside the base. Mutilated animal carcasses would be found on the edge of the base, and occasional encounters with a wolf-like intruder who managed to evade security with its supernatural physical abilities continued. Those stationed here began to refer to the creature as Momo, short for the Morbach monster, and while the tale was used to frighten newcomers, there were many here who believed in it, and, as we have just shown, claimed to have seen it, or at least its handiwork. It was author and University of Pittsburgh professor D.L. Ashleman who brought the tales of the Morbach monster, specifically this initial story, to public attention in the 1990s.
Wow. Okay. Now this is going wild. This is actually going wild. I like this.
He claimed that in 1997 and 98, he was emailed accounts of this story by some of those present. Their accounts were republished on his website, though the witnesses remain anonymous. In 2008, German anthropologist Matthias Burgard published the book Das Monster von Morbach, in which he discussed his extensive research into the legend and its origins. Because American servicemen were much more familiar with the story than the locals, he believed it to have been a folktale invented by Americans stationed in Germany rather than an authentic piece of German folklore. Indeed, while werewolves were certainly present and even prominent in German folklore, as we have already partly seen, There do not appear to be any references to this legend specifically, which predate the airbase, nor any record of Thomas Johannes Baptist Schweitzer.
Okay. So they made it up? Maybe, but no, this is curious. Are you telling me that the Americans made up stuff about Germany?
This would explain the significance of the full moon in the story. The full moon did not have nearly as much significance in the original European werewolf mythology. The idea that it triggers the transformation is an American cinematic invention. Although, admittedly, some versions do.
Interesting, good to know. Good to know, which also explains why the shamans, the Germanic ones, could freely transform into wolves, bears, eagles, you know, whatever, just whenever they wanted.
Claim that the creature rose every night and not just on the full moon. There is also, so far as we could tell, no other evidence that these events took place apart from the accounts of the witnesses. What about the shrine under which the wolf is, or it would seem, was buried? There are many shrines dedicated to the Virgin Mary in the area. We could not identify the one specifically associated with this story. Indeed, it seems that no one is completely confident which shrine is the subject of the story, if that information was ever specified in the first place. Many of them...
Very interesting. So it looks like that story was completely just made up.
Have candles which are periodically lit, but none of them are known to be lit every full moon specifically, let alone every night. But then, perhaps the fact that the legend has been forgotten is the reason why, according to those stationed at Han Air Base, the wolf lives again.
That, to be fair, that would actually make sense. Both things make... Either they made it up, the Americans, or it got forgotten and that's why it's back. Both things make sense. What's the next one?
Long have these towering mountains been the source of mystery and legend. The inhabitants of this region, which includes the
Oh, I love this castle. It's so beautiful.
German state of Bavaria, have long warned of a strange, fearsome creature that dwells in these mountains. Not only is this entity one of the most famous in German folklore, it may be one of the most unusual we have talked about.
Is it the Waldschrat, finally? Maybe?
In this series thus far. The creature is known by many names, but the Germans often refer to it as the Tatzelwurm. While this
Tatzelwurm? Wurm is worm? I have no idea what Tatzel would mean. That might be Bavarian. Which is a very distinct, unique, own Germanic language. If I would go to a Bavarian village and they would speak Bavarian, I wouldn't be able to understand anything.
Descriptions vary considerably. Generally, the Tatzelwurm, or Tatzelworm, is described as a creature with a lizard-like body, and often, though not always, the head of a cat. The beast is typically said to be anywhere from 2 to 7 feet in length, though even greater sizes have been
2 to 7 feet, that's nothing. That sounds more like a pet that you would have.
reported. It is said to have gray-black or brown skin, a forked tongue, a stubby tail, boar-like bristles along its back, and short legs and feet. Indeed, the name Tatzelworm means serpent with paws. The number of
Kind of no. And also, I've never heard of this one before. Ever.
feet varies from 0 to 2 to 4 to many, like a centipede. According to the 1948 book The Lungfish, the Dodo, and the Unicorn, An Excursion into Romantic Zoology, in spite of its short legs, the Tatzelworm is said to be capable of enormous jumps. Some claim the creature is aggressive and attacks those it encounters traveling in the mountains. Because it is believed to be extremely venomous, with its breath alone enough to kill, a Tatzelworm attack is regarded as highly dangerous. Tatzelworms are said to live in caves and rock crevices.
Look at this picture. Oh my god, I want that in my room. Oh my god, this is so beautiful.
And appear most especially during periods of changing or humid and hot weather. Some also suggest the creature is semi-aquatic. Stories of dragons and dragon-like entities in the Alps and throughout Germany date back to at least the Middle Ages, though they are very likely older. The first reports of a kind of reptilian feline chimera in the mountains specifically date to the 17th century at the latest. It is then that drawings and tales of encounters with such beasts began to become more frequent. While this may seem like the stuff of medieval fiction, in the 18th and 19th centuries, some scholars began to argue that the tatzelworm could be of legitimate scientific interest. They suspected the beast could be an undiscovered species of lizard or snake, or at least that the legends could have been inspired by the memory of a now extinct animal that was like this.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. 100%.
The cat head feature was generally disregarded by 19th century scholars, suggested to have been a fictional or misidentified feature. Thus, the tatzelworm passed from the realm of folklore into cryptozoology. German, Austrian, and Swiss naturalists in particular remain.
The thing is, German, Austrian, and Swiss, those are all German people. Ethnically, they are German people. But and so are, by the way, the people in Scandinavia. Oh, and in the Netherlands.
Fascinated by the idea that the creature was a real, undiscovered species of reptile inhabiting the Alps well into the 20th century. Their interest was kindled by the numerous reports of encounters with giant, poisonous lizards in the mountains that were made throughout this time. In 1934, a Swiss photographer, who is known only as Balkan, claimed that one day in that year, while hiking in the Swiss Alps photographing the scenery, he spotted a rotting tree trunk that stuck out to him. He paused to photograph it, when suddenly, the object began to move, revealing itself.
Did he take a photo and will we see it? Please, by the love of God, have something.
To in fact be a great lizard. The beast prepared to attack Balkan, and so he retreated immediately. He escaped unharmed, and when he returned, he discovered that he had managed to capture whatever it was that he had encountered in this photograph.
This thing looks like it's fake. But if the photo is real, you know, if this what we are seeing is real, like just the entire photo is real, this thing could be fake. But it also could be real. I mean, to be fair, there are animals out there that are so strange looking. It's so strange looking. So this being real wouldn't even surprise me at all.
Believing the animal to be the famous tatzelworm, he sent the picture to a German magazine called the Berliner Illustrierte. The publisher of the magazine was fascinated.
Look how nice this city looks. Oh my God, it looks clean. The people look like, you know, they aren't crazy. Everything looks, the buildings look nice. Everything looks clean. This is nice. I would want to live there. At least rather there than, you know, in New York. Ugh, disgusting.
And attempted to organize a search for the creature, though it seems little came of this. To date, Balkan's mysterious photograph remains the only known evidence of the existence of anything like giant lizards in the Alps. Unfortunately, however, the quality of the photograph is too poor to be of much use. Indeed, we cannot even be completely certain that the subject of the photograph is an animal. It's
or an animal or anything that was alive or a tree trunk or anything. I mean, you could say that this is the eyes. This is an eye there. Nostrils and mouth, yeah. Could be, could not be. We don't know.
worth pointing out that this was a time when there was great public interest in cryptozoology in general. Hoax photographs of fantastic creatures were very common. For example, this was the same year as the famous surgeon photograph, a hoax meant to convince the public of the existence of the Loch Ness Monster, and only a few years after the Deloy's ape photograph was published, likely a similar hoax, both of which we have talked about in past videos. This is not to say that it's guilty by association, only that the incentive was there. While very large lizards do exist, and while some of them, like Komodo dragons, are venomous, there is no compelling evidence of the existence of anything like this in the Alps, today or in recent history. Some scientists have suggested that if people...
But to be fair, that doesn't mean a lot, because we all the time find new species we didn't know existed, like at all. We found life in places where we thought there would not be life at all. We just found it there, just randomly.
truly are seeing something, animals like otters may be to blame. In spite of this, curiosity about the creature, and even reports of sightings in the area, continue into the modern day, with some of the most recent alleged sightings reported in northern Italy in 2009. Are these merely tall tales, or is there something potentially dangerous waiting to be discovered in the Alps after all?
Doesn't even need to be dangerous. People would just get scared by anything. That's just how it is. People are scared by what they don't know.
Historically, her presence was feared by all throughout Germany. Her cry, even more so. For the cry of the Klagefrau heralds...
Oh, Klagefrau? Never heard of that one. I think we have established a pattern here. I don't know anything about shit here.
Doom and destruction. The Klagefrau, also called the Klagemumme or Klagemutter, is a female spirit in German folklore who manifests in areas in which a death or another disastrous event is to take place in the near future, and wails to warn those who hear the cry of the approach of this tragedy. The name Klagefrau, in fact, translates to wailing woman.
Yep.
In this sense, the Klagefrau is the German equivalent of the Irish banshee. However, there are important differences in the mythology surrounding the two spirits.
Okay.
The description of the Klagefrau varies across the region. She is often said to be invisible, but when she is described, it is often as a pale woman in a black dress or burial robe. She may wear a tricorn and or a white scarf, and have spider webs covering her face. Some say her eyes glow, others that her eye sockets are hollow. Her size also varies considerably. Some describe her as a small but normal-sized woman. Others say that she is a giant figure who may rise high into the sky. The Klagefrau, however...
To be fair, Germans were always big, but they were also kind of... I mean, it depends on what time period you are in, right? For example, just an example. Back in the day when, during the Great Roman Empire, and they fought the Germanic tribes, the Germans on average were one head taller than the Italian soldiers. That was just the norm. So back then, the Germans were just huge people. But, you know, it all depends on context. The context is important.
Is widely regarded as a shapeshifter, and may more often be encountered in various animal forms, such as a long-haired black dog, a gray cat wearing a scarf, a three-legged sheep, a calf with glowing red eyes, or, often, an owl. Indeed, her cries are sometimes likened to the calls of an owl. The origins of this spirit are likewise uncertain and varied. Some say she is the spirit of a deceased woman, specifically a mother who lost her son tragically. Some say that there are more than one, and that a procession of Klagefrauen carrying a coffin may be witnessed in some places. Regardless of her appearance and origins, the Klagefrau's presence is widely agreed to be for the same reason. She will manifest in an area typically around midnight. The air will cool dramatically, an unnatural, deeply disquieting feeling will pervade the area, and the spirit will begin wailing to herald the coming of a tragedy. However, the doom she precedes is not necessarily what will come with certainty, as various rituals and acts seem to be able to deter that of which she warns. For example, it seems that if one can determine...
So, she warns the people of something bad coming, and then people do something to avoid the bad. So they literally do what she wants. Oh, who could have guessed that that's a good thing?
The tragedy that is to occur, they can sometimes offer the Klagefrau an alternative, which may influence what is to come, as long as they do so immediately upon her appearance. If the Klagefrau appears in front of a house in which an occupant is gravely ill, the family of the sick should throw the sick person's clothes outside in front of the house. If the spirit leaves the clothes, then it is said that their owner will recover. If the clothes are taken, however, the dying one is soon to die. As with the Banshee, the Klagefrau is not necessarily a harmful spirit herself, and while these rituals may deter hardships, it is not clear how much influence she herself has over them. Rather, as unnerving as her presence may be, it seems that she almost always serves as simply a premonitory messenger who vanishes after her message is delivered.
Nice. That's actually something that's nice. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about how could you put this into a game? A quest giver. Literally.
Before we turn to the final subject of our presentation, we must warn our audience of its especially unsettling nature. Indeed, we have never spoken of such a gruesome and horrifying entity in the entire history of this series, and likely we never will again.
Oh god. And now it comes. It's a wild shot. Great. Great. By the way, awesome picture. Awesome picture.
And so we advise that the faint of heart turn off before we discuss the creature known as the Wolpertinger.
What?
In all seriousness, the Wolpertinger is a
Wolpertinger. Have I heard of that before? No. Wolpertinger. That must be, well, like usual, some dialect. Some German dialect, I don't know.
Mysterious animal said to dwell primarily in the forests of Bavaria. There is not a universally agreed upon specific description of a Wolpertinger. However, it is generally held to be a kind of chimera-like creature, or an animal made up of a combination of different animals. The most common is that of a creature with the head of a rabbit, the body of a squirrel, the wings of a pheasant, the antlers of a deer, and fangs. Though various other combinations, incorporating different animals native to the area, are found in the mythology as well, which are also referred to as Wolpertingers. Wolpertinger is only the Bavarian name for the creature. Equivalents are found throughout the German-speaking world and even beyond. In Austria, the creature is known as a Rauhrockel, and in Thuringia, a Rasselbock. In spite of its intimidating appearance, the Wolpertinger is not actually a threat to humans. It is, rather, an odd, elusive, and magical creature. The Wolpertinger is most likely to be found in the forests at night under the full moon. Legends tell of hunters who have captured them, but this is very difficult to do. Some say that those with the best odds of catching them are beautiful women, as the animals...
Of course, it's always woman. It's always woman. It's all... Why are all the freaky creatures attracted to beautiful women? Oh, I wonder why. It's always the same.
Are enamored of female beauty. While the Wolpertinger was widely regarded as a fictional creature, the notion of the existence of what was called the Lapis cornutus, or the horned hare, was taken seriously by naturalists of the early modern era. Fascinatingly, in spite of its fantastical nature, of all the creatures mentioned in this episode, the Wolpertinger may have the most basis in reality. There are no hares or rabbits with naturally occurring horns. However, there is a disease called Shope papillomavirus, which causes the growth of cancerous tumors on these animals that can, somewhat, resemble antlers or horns in some
Okay,
cases.
makes sense.
It's possible, though not certain, that this disease may have spawned the legend and been the source of some of the reports of sightings and even claims of capturing and possessing living horned hares, although it likely does not explain everything.
But it would make sense. It would make sense. Absolutely, yes.
It is certain that pure myth and taxidermic fabrications embellished the legend once it had begun, regardless of its origins, especially because, again, horned hares or rabbits are only one form in which the Wolpertingers are described, although it is the most common. Similar to the Wolpertinger is the Elvetrich of Western Germany. The Elvetrich is said to resemble something like a chicken with antlers and scales instead of feathers. Helvetrichen are said to be a bizarre cross between a fowl.
I wish he would have shown the German name, because that would be way more easy for me. Way more easy for me and you.
And either a goblin or an elf, which hatch from eggs laid throughout the forest. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so,
I did. Oh my god, this was great.
I invite you to come check out the rest of Fire of Learning, especially our other campfire videos, and to subscribe to keep up with more videos like this in the future. To support the channel further, there is a link to our Patreon in the description. A special thanks to our current supporters, once again listed here. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time around the campfire.
Literally the same as me. They also have a campfire channel. Great. Great. It's just like me. Awesome. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okay. Good to know. That was interesting. That was really, really interesting. I loved that video. You know what? If you're willing to, here's the link. Give them a like. Awesome, awesome video. What do we do now? Oh, free unavailable videos are hidden. Oh, great. Awesome. Censorship. Actually, that's music. Let me show you some. We aren't going to play a game, but yesterday late I had an idea. I got a little bit of a spurt of, hey, how about I do that? And the dad was working on my build, and I did, and it's not better. Don't worry, we don't play. We don't actually play. This is literally the end of the stream. I just show off something. The last 2 days were too hard on my neck and back, so today I'm gonna lay low. Oh wait, I wanted to make 2 intros for my YouTube channels. Maybe I also do an intro for my Rumble channel. Would be a good idea. So people know what they are getting into. So. Oh. We go there. I want to. So what did we do? What did I do? Yesterday I started crafting, and I crafted this jewel. each of these small ones gives me 10% increased attack damage, 5% increased mana regeneration rate, and +2 to all elemental resistances. And we have this one, 8% increased attack speed, 2.4% of attack damage leech as mana, 20% increased damage while leeching. And we're gonna leech all the time, so all the time increased mana. And we have the medium jewel sockets, where I just can put normal jewels in. We got out of this because this is after all better. I am thinking of getting out of increased duration for stuff and put it in here, because if my living lightning support falls off when we are starting red maps, I will not actually need the duration. Putting that into damage. Or to this, +2 to all maximum elemental resistances. Also, what I found out is that we get 78% is cap when it comes to blocking. Or at least spell blocking, which is bad. I wish it would be more, but it's not. Which is really, really sad. But we also now running one unique, 8 to all elemental resistances, massive increase of armor and energy shield on this, regenerating 151.7 life per second, +5 to maximum fire resistance, +21% to fire resistance, 25% of fire resistance while on low life, plus 10% increased movement speed when on low life, 100% chance to avoid being ignited while on low life. This thing is good. Alright, we got this one too. It's nice. We are at 4100 life and almost 800 energy shield. While we were reskilling, I went down here, 20 plus maximum life, 10% increased maximum life. Nice. We got us all of these. Yeah, looks good. I might go out of those. Increased armor and increased maximum energy shield. But I'm not sure. We will see. We might go into here for the attack speed, because our attacks are very, very slow. Way too slow, actually. But yeah, that's the plan. I maybe play later today after I've done some sport and some not sitting in front of the computer all day, because that's really, 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 really bad. Also, I'm thinking about, you know what, while we are at it, we are making a video about my Path Exile 2 build with my druid. So let's just give me a second. I have to Put everything. Okay. And yes, cosmetics. So, what are we doing? What are we doing with our druid? Yes, that. I pressed the mouse button to move.
The tide turns.
Yes, it does. So our number one clearing thing is not lightning ball, actually. It's thunderstorm. Thunderstorm is extremely interesting to me. Because that thing can literally be your number one clearing skill for big crowds. So you get the thunderstorm, right? You have your increased area of effect, great. Lightning penetration, also great. Shock conduction. Hits from supported skills always shock drenched targets. Which is great. Why? Because thunderstorm drenches enemies all the time, permanently. So all hits shock. And then here, trigger cursing current when a hit from supported skills shocks. So that thing is always triggered. Unless it's on cooldown. Cooldown time 0.2 seconds. Wait, 6 uses? This skill is copying the level of the thunderstorm gem it is socketed in, which is great. Sadly, it can't have quality. So this thing deals 7 to 259 lightning damage. It chains 6 times. Projectiles can only collide with drenched targets, which is fine. Because everything in the storm is drenched. So this is massive AoE. I can... You know what? I will just show. We go... I don't want to do a map, so let's just... Let's go... Where do we go? Let's go there. We just go there. So only pressing E. See?
A failure of death.
I mean, sure, they are low level compared to me. You do need a group of mobs, though. Just, you know, oh. You're having...
Balance restored.
We are having... Against one enemy, it's shit. But... like you can see, against a bunch of enemies, easy. Now you do want... You do want to have a lot of enemies. The more enemies you have, the better the thing works. And at least partly you can... You could you could use just, you know, the storm and then arc. You can put crossing current into arc and just use that while the storm is going. Might be the same, I don't know. You could have this +1 limit and then have 2 massive storms, 2 big storms around, then arc everywhere. While this is an arc, would work. You should have this too. But yeah, that's my ground idea I came up with over time. I completely went from, oh, I'm playing, you know, in animal form to I'm a caster. Yeah, reskilling this had cost me about 400k, I think. But it's good. Druid as a caster is really, really good, especially with Apocalypse. That thing does so much damage, it's insane. It really is insane. Now I use this one. Storm and Plants spells deal 50% more damage, cost 50% less, have 75% less duration. It's fine. I mean, you have seen it, right? It's great. I really, really like this. Now, what I'm wondering is, how would that work with a sorceress, you know? You go with a thunderstorm, you become elementalist, go for crits, and the crit setting trigger the storm thingies, and that might be completely insane. I also have looked into, I found out about, where is it? Elemental Archon. Nice. That thing literally gives you... Elemental Archon is a type of Archon buff. Great. Elemental Archon grants 25% more elemental damage with spells. Cannot deal non-elemental damage with spells. Hits with spells cost 100% more freeze build up. 100% more flammability. 100% more shock chance. This is great. Now, I thought about building something around this. But that would be a completely new build. And depending on what new class is coming with 0.5... I'm not even sure if I will make it. If we get the Templar with a Guardian and stuff like that, and the holy skills that we now have in Path Exile 1, also in here, I might do that. I really do. I want to try out the Static Strike Living Lightning Guardian build I have in Ulti and Path Exile 1 and Path Exile 2. I think that would work perfectly. Should work completely fine. Especially because the defenses here are easier. You know? You don't have to have 75% elemental resistances plus 100% the other thing with the dexterity thingy. I forgot how it's called. A spell suppression. There we go. So yeah, this is at the moment how I play. I am though squishy because my equipment is just not up to par. I am level 74. Yeah, I really need better and better stuff. Just better stuff. But yeah, it's good. It works. It works actually well. It's just not up to a point where I can withstand a lot of damage, which is ridiculous because of just the strength that I have. But my defenses are not that great. Gear armor, 57%. That's not good. Chaos resistance is good though. Now cold and lightning I'm below 75%, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Overall, this works. It works fine, especially if you use Apocalypse regularly. Shit is easy. Oh, there's a boss fight. Thunderstorm, Apocalypse, and of course elemental weakness. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Especially if you also put down a tornado. You know, on the burning ground that Apocalypse left, or the freezing ground that Apocalypse left, or electrified ground that Apocalypse left. Oh, and of course Entangle, while under Thunderstorm, also deals massive damage. And then you fire your lightning. Yeah. Damage-wise, this is completely fine. Fine. Survivability is not that great. And that's what I'm struggling with. Instead of that, this works fine. This works fine. It's actually very, very easy to play. Especially after I found out that having only one of these instead of, 3 is actually better. Because my sorceress, oh yeah, I need as many as these as I possibly can, right? Yeah, that was a mistake. But this one, this is great. I really like this. And that's my concurrent Druid build. It's nice. I like Druid. It's now my favorite class in the game. That I play as a caster instead of an actual Druid, but we ignore that, right? If you liked this video, consider subscribing, liking, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the Druid in the comments. See you next time. Bye bye. And that was another YouTube video. Another YouTube video. Okay. And with that, we are done for today. Ow! Oh man, my back. My back hurts. The old man and this back injury. Yeah, I need to do some stretches and strength training and just not sitting in front of the computer. Next stream is planned for Wednesday. No idea what we are going to do. Maybe just playing games. Maybe doing some reacts. Maybe recording a video, just like today. Maybe all of that. We will see. Yeah, if you like today's stream, consider following, subscribing, liking. If you're on a platform that you can do that, And don't forget to let me know in the comments what you think. Bye bye. And now we are ending all the streams. Just give me a second. Bye bye, YouTube. Okay, that was that.